morning. The time is exactly 7 o'clock GMT in the studios of Het Afrique Radio in Ghana. You're logged on to www.modernghana.com. You can as well download the TuneIn app and search for Het Afrique Radio as we bring you the news for this morning. It is the Monday's edition. Today happens to be the 15th of March 2021. Stay tuned as I bring you the headlines for Monday stories. Government to use new taxes to fund propaganda in Ghana. Like Busomchi on threat. Nigerian president issues stern warning. Sewa, I'm here. Do not fancy marriage. These and many other stories are coming your way this morning. Stay tuned as I bring you the news in details. My name is Abina Ahene. Enjoy the news. In our local fraternity right here in Ghana, Parliament to summon Education Minister over LS in new textbook. Parliament is expected to invite the Minister of Education, Dr. Osei Yao Educhum, to appear on the floor of the House of Answer questions relating to newly authored history textbook for students. This comes after lawmaker for Notungu Samuel Okujoto Ablakwa has said he has filed an urgent parliamentary question requesting the minister to appear before the House and respond to the two bigoted publications on issue. In a tweet, the former Deputy Education Minister said, "This is to notify all concerned that I have filed an urgent parliamentary question requesting the Minister for Education to appear before the House and respond to the two bigoted publications in issue." Moving on to other stories in our local fraternity. Government to use new taxes to fund propaganda programs. Member of Parliament for North Tongu, Samuel Okujoto Ablakwa, has told the government not to tax the people of this country in this difficult period of the coronavirus pandemic. His comment comes after the government is proposing in the 2021 budget statement the introduction of a COVID-19 health levy of a 1% point increase in the National Health Insurance Levy and a 1% point increase in the VAT flat rate to support expenditures related to COVID-19. To provide the requisite resources to address these challenges and fund these activities, government is proposing the introduction of a COVID-19 health levy of a 1% increase in the National Health Insurance Levy and a 1% point increase in the VAT flat rate to support expenditures related to COVID-19. The budget statement presented by the leader of government business, Osei Mensah-Bonsu, said on Friday, March 12. But in a tweet, Mr. Ablakwa said, "Don't squeeze out traditional taxes from the people in these tough times, only to fund government propaganda as a flagship program." Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for Sekondi, Angela Ejapa Mensah, has said the new taxes introduced in 2021 budget are targeted at solving specific problems. He said the problems facing the country at the moment do not permit the government to borrow, rather introduce taxes to deal with the specific challenges. His comments after the lawmaker for Tamale North, Alhassan Suhuyini, has said the 2021 budget statement presented by leader of government business, Mr. Osei Mensah-Bonsu, will worsen the condition of businesses in the country. He added, "There is a tax on sanitation that we are going to deal with. There is also the COVID levy for us to pay." But Mr. Mercer said on the same show that the taxes introduces are essentially directed to solve specific problems, he said. In other stories, Lake Bosomtwe under threat in Ghana. The only natural lake in Ghana and the largest in West Africa, Lake Bosomtwe, risks being delisted as a biosphere reserve by the UNESCO following indiscriminate encroachment of the buffer zone. A private developer has cleared all the trees planted to protect the lake by the Menchia Palace and some NGOs in the government despite bylaws banning any activity within the buffer zone. Situated in the Ashanti region, the lake is one of the most important tourist sites in the region and acclaimed as the Sea of Ashanti. But efforts to protect the lake from shrinking and pollution appear to be going. Hundreds of trees planted to along the banks of the Lake PPA, one of the lake communities, have been cut down indiscriminately. The sponging areas where the fishes lay eggs for reproduction have also been destroyed by the developer. The vegetation has been taken around the immediate peripheral of the lake. It means that there is a lot of carbon that we've lost into the atmosphere, exacerbating the issue of climate. The destruction of sponging areas for fishing would also reduce the productive capacity of the lake. National Director of Arocha Ghana, Dr. Steph Apiakubi, told. Dr. Apiakubi's fears Lake Bosomchin may shrink if the destroying of the trees is not stopped immediately. If the peripherals are removed like this, the lake will shrink. We have lakes that are undying under the world, and we should not wait for that to happen to our only lake, he stressed. Queen Mother of PPA Nana Ekuamwa Botama wants the Asantehene to intervene in protecting the preserving of the lake. We plead with the Asantehene to come to our aid. All the trees he gave us to plant and nurture have been destroyed by the developer. If nothing is being done to stop the private developer from further destroying the trees, the community would not involve itself in any tree planting exercise along the bank of the lake. Assuming warning sanction would be meted out to anyone who trespasses on the buffer zone. Per our bylaws, 100 meters from the banks of the lake is a no-go area, so the private developer clearly trespassed. He has currently been handed over to the police for prosecution. We need to protect the lake, and whoever flouts the laws would be made to face the law. Residents of PPA have vowed not to allow any private developer from further destroying the trees planted along the lake. Arocha Ghana, a conservation-oriented organization, intends to replant trees at the degraded area to protect the lake. In other stories of political news, thanks for quitting. There will be peace in NDC now. Hussaini Donkor, a member of the communications team of the National Democratic Congress, has welcomed Alote Jacobs' decision to resign from the party. According to him, the resignation of Alote will bring some peace and tranquility to the party. Now, there will be peace in the party, Hussaini Donkor, a member of the communication team of the National Democratic Congress, says. He was reacting to the exit of the former Central Regional Chairman of the NDC, Bernard Alote Jacobs, from the Umbrella Fraternity. Speaking during a panel discussion on Peter FM's morning show, Kokoko, Alote Jacobs said, I no longer belong to the NDC. I know I have been suspended, but I've dismissed myself. I'm not going to join the NPP and I will never be an NPP member, but I'm no longer with NDC. In other stories, leadership of Parliament proposes national conversation on completing abandoned projects. The majority and minority leaders in Parliament on Sunday reunited discussions on the completion of projects that were left uncompleted in previous regimes. Two leaders said some development projects started by previous governments but abandoned by successive was a thorny issue that has costed the nation fortunes and suggested that could be solved to benefit all. At the beginning of a two-day post-2021 budget workshop for MPs underway in Ho, the Volta regional capital, the two leaders, though from opposing political camps, expressed the need for a national conversation on how to continue projects that were not completed by previous governments. The workshop on the theme, Economic Revitalization Through Completion, Consolidation and Continuity, would allow the members of the Parliament MPs to share thoughts with experts on key aspects of the 2021 budget statement and economic policy of the government of Ghana and its policy limits. The budget statement was presented to the nation through the Parliament of Ghana by the caretaker finance minister, who is also the majority leader in Parliament, on Friday, March 12, 2021, and the workshop is expected to create an opportunity for the MPs to discuss the key points for promoting national development. It will also provide the MPs with the knowledge to make meaningful contributions to the debate on the 2021 budget statement by Parliament, which begins on Tuesday, March 2021. Mr. Harunu Idrisu, who is also MP for Tamale South constituency, concerning some legal provisions, reminded the Guardian of a national policy decision to complete standing projects. He suggested that they should include projects by previous governments inherited by opposing political parties. He suggested that projects should not be initiated, but there was not enough monetary provision on resource allocation from the start to completion. No project should come up unless it is supported by adequate monetary and material provisions. The minority leader said they suggested that sanctions would be applied to government officials who start a project but do not see through their completion. Responding, Majority Leader Oseiche Mensah-Bonsu attributed to the party problem of not completing previous projects to the intervention of foot soldiers. According to the Majority Leader, successive governments from opposing parties found it difficult to continue with development projects when foot soldiers intervened and put pressures on current government not to continue with projects from previous government, as they explained that their parties would not be credited for starting such projects. To avoid this, successive opposing governments from other parties might not want us. He puts it to be led into the party of unrighteousness. Every party, he implied, would therefore to want to initiate its project which might not be completed in its term of office. Deputy Minority Leader for MP for Ifutu, Mr. Alexander Afenyo-Makin, entreated the participants to make contributions in the budget statement to make it pass the litmus test to ensure that it is transparent, accountable, and responsive to nation goals. Moving on to other African countries. In the Ivorian, corpse of Ivorian Prime Minister Ahmed Bakayoko arrives in Abidjan. Bakayoko's burial is scheduled for Friday, 19th of March. The body of the Ivory Coast late Prime Minister Ahmed Bakayoko arrived in Abidjan on Saturday from Germany. Ahmed Bakayoko, popularly known as Hambak, died in Germany from cancer aged 56, 4 days after legislative council election that went ahead peacefully and had victory to the ruling RHDP party. On Thursday, the government declared an 8-day national mourning period from 12th to the 19th of March. The official program includes tributes for the nation on Wednesday, followed by the transfer of the body to the next day to Siguela North, where he would be buried on Friday in strict privacy of the family. Bakayoko, who was also defense minister, was excavated to France on 18th February by special plane for health reasons, before being transferred to a hospital in Germany last weekend at the time legislative elections in Ivory Coast were being held. Despite his absence, he has overwhelmingly re-elected deputy in his stronghold of Siguela North. Ahmed Bakayoko succeeded Amadou Gon Coulibaly as Prime Minister in July 2020. He died a few days after returning from hospital and a 2-month convalescence in France for heart problems. Appreciated on all sides of a country marked by high political tensions, opponents were keen to pay tribute. Meanwhile, former Ivorian President Laurent Gbagbo, on parole in Brazil after his acquittable by the International Criminal Court, has postponed his return to Ivory Coast, initially scheduled for mid-March. In a statement, Gbagbo said he was doing this to fully associate in the pure African tradition the mourning that hit Cote d'Ivoire this period. Nigerian president issues stand warning to both be terrorists and bandits targeting schools. President Buhari has issued a stand warning to both be terrorists and bandits targeting schools in the country. In a statement released by his media aide, the president commended efforts of the Kunduna state government and early response of the military, which led to the rescue of 180 students, including 8 staff members, but urged that the other declared missing be found and returned safely to their families. Buhari, who also expressed sympathy to victims of the recent abduction, urged the local population to rise to the challenge of the moment. President Muhammadu Buhari on Saturday issued a stern warning to would-be terrorists and bandits targeting schools, saying the country would not allow the destruction of the school system. The president also commended efforts and contributions of local intelligence insignificantly thwarting the kidnappers, saying that a country that has an efficient local intelligence network is a safer country. Our military may be efficient and well armed, but it needs good efforts for the nation's defense, and the local population must rise to the challenge of the moment. President Buhari expressed sympathy with the victims of this incident and hoped for an early end to the ordeal of those still held captive. Moving on to other stories of other countries in Egypt. Time stands still as historic Egyptian watch shop. Time seems to have stood still at Papazian's, an Armenian Egyptian watchmaker whose almost 120-year-old career shop has withstood the decades, surviving political upheavals and urban transformations. Sheltered from the hustle and bustle of the country's unforgiving traffic and surrounded by street vendors in Ataba Square, the unassuming shop, housed under the arcade of an old Haussmannian building, is a time capsule of Cairo's rich cosmopolitan history. It is a real museum-like site where old clocks, watches, and timepieces are meticulously prepared. I have spent part of my grandfather's days assured Papazi, the current 64-year-old owner who inherited the family business, told AFP. The shop front with patinated wood frames boasts an impressive array of pocket watches and wrist models with aging bracelets as well as yellowed advertisements of the vaunted watchmaker. At the turn of the 19th century, Egypt had become a popular destination for Armenians who specialized in delicate manual crafts such as jewelry making, along with a thriving European community that included Italians, Turks, Greeks, Jews, and French citizens. The Armenian community estimated to have numbered between 40,000 and 60,000 before Egypt's 1952 anti-monarchy revolutions. Mostly living in Cairo and Alexandria had dwindled to only around a few thousand now. In his small office, surrounded by a quaint mess of archives, books, and clocks of all kinds, assured in the keeper of precious memories. Two black and white portraits hang behind his armchair of his grandfather Nessus, known as Francis, the founder of the store, and of Ashot's own father Sakis. Atik Kontwai, pendulum chimes, or cuckoo's clocks, some of the 19th century occupy every inch of available wall space. They belong to customers who have entrusted him to repair them, or owned by the watch enthusiast himself who refuses to part with his rarest timepieces. In 1893, Narses Papazian drafted into the Ottoman army, escaped by jumping on a boat without knowing his final destination. His grandson said, he ended up in Alexandria on Egypt's Mediterranean coast. 10 years later, he opened the watch shop in Cairo that carries his name on the storefront to this day. Building a reputation, he attracted several stars of the golden age of Egyptian cinema, such as Youssef Wabi, Fouad El Mohammedis, and Abdulmunaim Ibrahim as customers. Papazian also said the family of King Farouk, Egypt's last monarch, called his father Sakis to the royal palace and to have their pick from a wide array of watches. Later, when Egypt's free officers moved led by Gamal Abdel Nasser, the country's first president, overthrew the monarchy, the newly established public elite who adopted Papazian. Here lies the end of the local stories. Stay tuned as we do some foreign news. You're tuning Welcome to Hate Africa Radio. We are transmitting live here in Ghana. You're logged on to www.modernghana.com. You can also download the TuneIn app and search for Hate Africa Radio. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles. We are live on Facebook at Hate Africa Radio, also on YouTube live at Hate Africa Radio. Now let's do some foreign stories this morning. In Minneapolis to pay George Floyd family $27 million. The city of Minneapolis has reached a $27 million, £19 million settlement with the family of George Floyd, the unarmed U.S. black man whose death last May sparked protests worldwide. Mr. Floyd's death after being trapped under the knee of police officer Derek Chauvin was captured on camera. Lawyers for the family said the footage created undeniable demand for justice and change. Jury selection for Mr. Chauvin's murder trial is currently underway. 6 out of 12 jurors have been selected for hearings beginning on 29th of March. The Minneapolis City Council had voted unanimously to approve the pretrial settlement, the largest ever awarded in the state of Minnesota. That the largest pretrial settlement in a wrongful death case would be for the life of a black man sends a powerful message that black lives do matter and police brutality against people of color must end, said Floyd family attorney Ben Crump. In a video of Mr. Floyd's death that went viral on social media, 4 police officers confronted the man for allegedly using a counterfeit $20 bill at a local shop. They dragged him to the ground and Mr. Chauvin places his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck, even as he begs for his life and says, "I can't breathe." He later pronounced death in hospital. Lawyers for the Floyd family filed a civil suit a month later in June 2020. They argued the city had been neglected for failing to train officers in proper restraint technique and for not dismissing officers with a poor track record. Dozens of complaints have previously been filed against Ms. Chauvin, who had been surviving on the city for police in 19 years. Speaking after the settlement was announced, Mr. Crump said it was but one step on the journey to justice. Mr. Floyd's death was a catalyst for reckoning on race and bias, he said. The civil settlement comes at the end of the first week of a criminal court proceeding over Mr. Chauvin's murder trial. The former officer is facing charges of second and third degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. If found guilty on all accounts, he could face a maximum of sentence of 65 years in prison. He has pleaded not guilty. The final bench will require 12 jurors and 4 alternates or substitutes, but suitable jurors have been hard to find in these emotionally charged and high-profile cases. The 3 other officers involved in Mr. Floyd's death, J. Alexander Cohen, Town Thao, and Thomas Lane, were charged with aiding the abetting murder and manslaughter, who will be tried separately later that year. Moving on to another country, it's Netherlands. Race for a cure. The Netherlands on Sunday joined a fast-growing list of countries suspending use of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine after reports of unexpected possible side effects of the injection, vials labeled AstraZeneca COVID-19 virus vaccine. The vaccine would not be used until the least March 29th as a precaution, the Dutch government said in its statement. The announcement will lead to delays in rolling out shots in the Netherlands, which had pre-ordered 12 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine. Health authorities had scheduled around 290,000 AstraZeneca injections in the coming 2 weeks. The move, which follows a similar decision by Ireland earlier in the day, is based on reports from Denmark and Norway of possible serious side effects, the government said. 3 health workers in Norway who had recently received the vaccine were being treated in hospital for bleeding, blood clots, and a low count of blood platelets. Norwegian health authorities said on Saturday. No such cases had been found yet in the Netherlands, the Dutch health ministry said, adding There was no proof yet of a direct link between the vaccine and the reports from Denmark and Norway. We can't allow any doubts about the vaccine, Dutch Health Minister Hugo de Jong said. We have to make sure everything is right, so it is wise to pause for now. AstraZeneca said on Sunday in a review of safety data of people vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine has shown no evidence of an increased risk of blood clots. But De Jong said this decision was informed by the new report, which would be investigated by the European Medicines Agency (EMA), along with Denmark, Norway, and Ireland. Iceland had also suspended the use of the vaccine over clotting issues, while Thailand became the first country outside of Europe to do so on Friday. Italy's northern region of Piedmont on Sunday said it will stop using a batch of AstraZeneca vaccines after a teacher died following his vaccination on Saturday. Australia has also stopped using a particular batch last week. Moving on to another country, that is France. In France, France must do everything to avoid new coronavirus lockdown as pressure on hospitals grows. Prime Minister Jean Castex said on Sunday as the country reported more than 26,000 new cases. The French government has so far resisted pressure from some health experts to impose a new third lockdown in the face of rising case numbers. Instead, it has imposed a 6 p.m. nationwide curfew and wicked knockdowns in two regions struggling to obtain outbreaks while big shopping centers have been required to close. We have to use all weapons available to avoid a lockdown. I've never hit it. Let's vaccinate, protect ourselves, get tested, Castex said in an interview on website Twitch. The health ministry reported on Sunday 26,343 new COVID-19 cases, down from 29,759 the previous day, while the number of people who have died from the virus rose by 140 to a total of 90,429. Meanwhile, the number of people in intensive care units edged higher by 57 to 4,127, while emergency resuscitation units were running at nearly 82% of capacity, the highest since late November when France was in its second lockdown. The situation is not getting better. There is a higher and higher number of infections, and hospitals were very burdened with many patients whose average age is getting lower and who don't always have comorbidities, Cortex said. The government plans to transfer about 100 patients this week by air on special trains from the Greater Paris region to other cities to help to ease pressure on hospitals in the capital. Labour Minister Elizabeth Bourne said on Sunday she has tested positive for COVID-19 and would keep working the later senior French officials to catch the virus. Meanwhile, France's vaccination program has been gaining speed with the 67,134 first shots on Sunday bringing to the total of 5,128,872 or 7.7% of the population, the health ministry said. Some 2,239,389 have received both injections as of Sunday. In Myanmar, martial law in parts of Myanmar's main city after deadliest day since coup. Myanmar activists planned more anti-coup rallies on Monday, a day after at least 39 people were killed in clashes with security forces in the commercial hub of Yangon, where Chinese finance factories were touched. People flash-triggered salute as they take part in the anti-coup night protest at Leiden Junction in Yangon, Myanmar, March 19, 2021. Security forces killed at least 22 pro-democracy protesters in the Hiliangjati suburb of Yangon on Sunday, an advocacy group said. A further 16 protesters were killed in other places, the Assistant Association for Political Prisoners, AAAPP, said, as well as one policeman making it in the bloodiest day since the February 1st coup against elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Martial law, who was imposed in the Hilentanga in the Swapiyandia district of Yangon, state media announced. The Chinese embassy said many Chinese staff were injured and trapped in arson attacks by unidentified assailants on government factories in the Hilentanga, and that it called on Myanmar to protect Chinese property and citizens. China is viewed as being supportive of the military junta that has taken power. As plumes of smoke rose from the industrial area, security forces opened fire on protesters in the suburb that is home to migrate from across Myanmar, media and witnesses said. It was horrible. People were shot before my eyes. It will never leave my memory, said one photojournalist on the scene who did not want to be named. Army run Miyawaki television said security forces acted after four government factories and a fertilizer plant were set ablaze, and about 2,000 people had stopped fire engines from the reaching them. Protests were planned on Monday to the country's second city of Mandali, activist Miata Thu said. While presidents in Yangon said demonstrations were planned in two areas of the city. Violence also broke out in other parts of Yangon as protests ran late into Sunday night. Three people died in my arms. We rescued about 20 injured people last night, said Zizawa, 32, a resident of protester in the Tijinkun city of district of Yangon. Another resident, Mim Yantano, 21, said there were three facilities and scores of people were injured in the South Dagon district after they came out to protest. They used machine guns and were constantly firing at the people, she said. A junta spokesman did not answer calls requesting comment. The latest death would bring the toll from the protest to 126, the AAPP said. It's more than 2,150 people had been detained by Saturday. More than 300 have been released. Tom Andrews, the United Nations human rights investigator on Myanmar, appealed for UN member states to cut the supply of cash and weapons to the military. Heartbroken or outraged at news of the large number of protesters murdered by Myanmar security forces in a single day, junta leaders don't belong in power. They belong behind bars, he said on Twitter. China's embassy described the situation as very severe after the attacks of the Chinese financed factories. Making the strongest comment by China about violence up to now, it urged Myanmar authorities to stop all acts of violence, punish the perpetrators in accordance with the law, and ensure the safety of life and property of Chinese companies and personnel. No group claimed responsibility for burning the factories. Anti-Chinese sentiment has risen since the coup that plunged Myanmar to turmoil, with opponents of the army takeover noting Beijing's muted criticism compared to the Western condemnation. Only two factories have been burned for now, protest leader Iltizam Muang posted on Facebook. If you want to do business in Myanmar stably, then respect Myanmar people, he said, fighting Lian Danskwa. We are proud of you. An editorial in the Global Times, which is published by the official newspaper of China's ruling Communist Party, condemned that what is described as barbaric act. We strongly urge Myanmar side to stop this kind of crimes, punish the perpetrators, and compensate Chinese factories for the losses, it said. The army said it took power after its accusations of fraud in November 8th election won by Suu Kyi's party were rejected by the Electoral Commission. It has promised to hold a new election but has not set a date. Suu Kyi has been detained since the coup and is due to return to court on Monday. She faces at least four charges, including the illegal use of walkie-talkie radios and infringing coronavirus protocols. The violence took place a day after Ma Wing Kai-tan, who is on the run along the most senior officials of the Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy Party, said the civilian government would give Popular the legal right to defend themselves. It announced to the law that effect on Sunday. Here lies the end of the news. Stay tuned as we bring you some news of entertainment. You're still logged on to Hit Africa Radio. We are transmitting live here in Ghana on the Modern Ghana app as well as on the TuneIn app. You can as well follow us on all our social media handles. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We are live on Facebook and YouTube.
It's a Freak Radio.
Now let's do some entertainment news. Marriage is not important. I prefer being single. Ghanaian broadcaster Sewa Amhir does not think marriage is the most important thing in life. According to her, there are more important things that deserve attention in life. Thus, a woman who is 31 just like herself and yet single should not be a big deal. This was the GH1 TV's presenter reply to many who criticized her for failing to marry. And these comments came in droves when Sewa Amhir celebrated her 31st birthday on the 8th of March 2021. Taking a screenshot of one of the comments under a news portal post on Facebook, where one social media user was asking her when she would give birth, especially when she is still unmarried. Sarah Amhir said she preferred to be single and unmarried than to rush into an unhappy union. She wrote, "Every day go and marry, as though it's the most important thing in life. You will be pushing some women to end up in unhappy and abusive marriages," shaking my head. After this post, Sarah Amhir had a comment from one blogger who said until she's married, everything she has acquired and achieved is meaningless. Sarah Amhir is part of a long list of successful female Ghanaian celebrities who are yet to marry. In other stories, Shitwali, Stonebwoy have the ability to do reggae but are all dancehall artists. Award-winning Afro-roots rock reggae artist Black Prophet has described Shitwali and Stonebwoy as dancehall artists with the talent to do reggae songs and Afrobeat songs. He was responding to a question on Rainbow Entertainment when he was asked if he recognizes the two as reggae dancehall artists. "I see them as dancehall artists, but they have the talent to do reggae songs and Afrobeat songs. They are very talented artists," and declared when host DJ Slash asked him about his opinion on the two artists. Black Prophet added that he is a root rock reggae artist and a unique talent. He explained music is not about where you live, but the ability to create something great. In other stories, I could have ended up as a junkie on the streets. Afro root rock reggae artist Black Prophet says he would have been a nuisance to society if not for God. Recounting his difficult days, he said he could have ended up as a junkie drug addict or a lawbreaker on the streets of Accra. Speaking exclusively to DJ Slash on Rainbow Radio Entertainment, he recounted how he had to struggle on the streets of Accra. According to him, some of his friends were currently in prison serving jail terms for various crimes, with others death. He said he would only appreciate God for transforming his life despite the negative challenges that confronted him. His father noted dead when he, Black Prophet, was a year old. The life he explained was not an easy one, but all is now history. Black Prophet released his debut solo album No Pain No Gain in February 1998 with his backing band, The Thunderstrike. It was not until the release of Legal Stranger in 2003 that the musician gained the national spotlight. He has worked and collaborated with various international reggae artists, including Rita Mali, Pliers, Don Carlos, Yellow Man, Seal Pulse, Lucky Dubé, Alpha Blondie, Buju Banton, and Diane Fraser, who produced the song called Feeling. Good Feeling, the highlight of Black Prophet's 19th track 2011 album, Tribulations. The album features a duet with reggae icon Cop In other stories, Burna Boy wins Grammy Award for Best Global Album. Nigerian Afrobeat star Burna Boy has won the 63rd Grammy Award nod for Best Global Album. He won with his Twice as Tall album. In his acceptance speech, Burna Boy said Africa is in the house. This is a big win for my generation of Africans all over the world. This should be a lesson to everyone that no matter where you are and no matter what you plan to do, you can achieve it. No matter where you're from, you are a king. Look at me now, Grammy Award winning Burna Boy. This is Burna Boy's second Grammy nomination. His album, Twice at All, was nominated for the newly named Global Music Award. Last year, his album African Giants was nominated in the same category that was previously known as World Album. Burna Boy was in the same category with top musicians from Antibalas, Bebel Gilberto, Anoushka, Shankar, and Tinari Wen. Here lies the news for today. Once again, let's go through the headlines. Government to use new taxes to fund propaganda. Lake Bosomche on threats. Nigerian president issues stern warning. I prefer to be single rather than in marriage. Says Sewa, I'm here. These and many other stories we brought your way this morning.
You are listening to It's a Freak Radio.
Stay tuned and enjoy our news and entertainment. My name is Abina Ahinia.